So we're going to have our paper the tall way because our lighthouse is not like this. Our lighthouse is tall, so we want the paper to be the tall way. We have room, because if we try to do it this way, our lighthouse might get cut off the top of the paper. And the first thing, I'm going to use a Sharpie. I'm being really brave because I can't erase this. So if I make a mistake, so hopefully I won't. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw. I think the first thing we'll do is draw the roof of this little house because it's kind of right in the middle of the paper. And I want to get that right in the right spot so that I can put everything else, kind of build everything else around it. If I started with the whale, I wouldn't have a good marker of where to go from there. So since that's kind of right in the middle, I think we'll start with that. So that is going to be a straight line just about in the middle of the page, maybe a little lower than the middle of the page, right about like that. Straight line. And now I want the bottom of the roof to be parallel to that line, which means it's exactly the same distance all along its line from that one. But I want it to be a little bit over, not directly under it, but a little bit over this way. So I think I'm going to go like that. So see how those two lines are parallel? They're both straight. And then I'm going to connect them. So I'm going to go like this and this. Is that called a parallelogram? Those of you kids who are in school, I think that's what it might be.
Yeah.
So now we're going to do a square underneath of that shape. Not too hard. So we're going to have a line coming down here and a line coming down here. And then a line going across.
Again, you want that to be parallel to those other two lines.
Yep. So yeah, this line goes straight across. It's parallel. All these three lines are parallel, just straight across. They aren't diagonal. Okay, now we have to draw the back of our house. We only have the front of our house. It's going to fall over. So we're going to make a diagonal line going like this. So this kind of makes like a triangle shape, kind of. It's kind of a little upside down V shape right there. How's everybody doing?
See how that line's not straight. Yeah, I know.
Good.
I need this. I need an eraser.
All right, and now this, we need to put the back wall on our house. And the back wall of our house is going to be just a little bit shorter than the front wall because when you go back in space, things recede, right? So the back wall is going to be just a little bit shorter, and then I'll have a diagonal line connecting that. So now our house is solid. It's not going to fall over now. That's good. So I think we're ready for our lighthouse. So for the lighthouse, you can see there's a little space right here between the roof of the house and the lighthouse. There's a V shape. So I think we'll start by making that V shape there so that we get an idea of where we want our lighthouse to be. So kind of like just do that. That's where we're going to put the first side of our lighthouse. So we're going to go up about that high. We want to leave some space up here so we can make the top of our lighthouse with the flag on it later. And then when we do the other side of the lighthouse, it's going to be a diagonal going away from the house because lighthouses are wider at the bottom and skinnier at the top. So it's going to be like a cone going down. So it's skinny at the top and then it gets wider as it goes down. So we're going to start right about here and then just a slight diagonal line so it gets fatter and fatter so it gets to the bottom. And we're going to stop it right about where that corner of that house is. So lighthouses are round, right? They're like a cone usually. So the bottom of our lighthouse is going to have a slight curve because it's like the bottom of a cone. So we're going to kind of curve it around and go like that. Mine isn't perfect. If yours isn't perfect, that's okay. It's going to look like a lighthouse when we're done. So let's see. The top of the lighthouse also curves, but it's going to curve the other direction because I have created this picture so that the viewer is, if my pin was the viewer is kind of standing right about here. So they're kind of looking up at the lighthouse. And if you were looking up at the lighthouse, the top of it would look like it curved out like that. So we're going to make the top of our lighthouse, we're going to make a slight curve up like that. And then we're going to make this fun little thing on the top of the lighthouse. It's kind of a little walkway where the lighthouse keeper can walk around up there. So we're going to just, this flutes out. So two little lines going out from the top. And then we're going to curve a line that connects those two that curves just like that line. So those two curving lines are the same distance from each other. They're parallel. It looks kind of like a megaphone or a cone that you'd use in gym class. All right, now we're going to put the cute little thing on top that has the light in it. So I think my lighthouse might be getting a little crooked. Sometimes it's hard because I'm kind of drawing sideways with you guys. So sometimes I get a little bit off, but I want my little light at the top to be pretty straight. So I'm going to try to make it, it's a little smaller than the bottom of the lighthouse. So make these two lines closer together than these two lines. And then curve them at the top too. And I put a fun little roof on mine with a flag. So we're going to do that. So that roof is also a cone shape. It's kind of a triangle. We're going to start with a triangle. So I'm going to make a triangle, just the top, just the sides of the triangle, not the bottom of the triangle. And I'm going to have it a little wider than this part. There's a little edge, there's a little space between the corner of that and the triangle. You can't see it, can you? I gotta get closer, let's see. See how I left a little bit of space there? That's because I want my roof to come around like that, so it looks like it's kind of round.
Yeah, and so it looks like it's coming around the back side of it.
Yes. So see how I did that?
Like a little cap.
Yeah. So I just did a triangle shape, and then I did the curved line that connected the two, and that curve is the same as this curve and this curve. And then I just connected the sides like that. So let's put the flag on top. Now I don't want my flag to be too tall, it's going to go off the page. I'm just going to put a straight line going straight up, and then kind of an S curve, like kind of like S, kind of a long skinny S. And then I'll do it, and then I'll do another S a little farther down the line, another S, but it connects to that one at the end. So one S on top and then another S below, and they connect at the tail of the flag. Our lighthouse needs light. So more curved lines. In this little space right here, we're gonna do another curved line, just like that one, and one in between. And then some straight lines going down, and that's where the light comes out. And I'm just gonna do this, but you don't have to do that on yours. I'm just showing you that's where the light would come out of the lighthouse.
The
Okay,
curved lines help it look like it's round, like the shape of the building is actually a cone versus doing a straight line.
Right. So more curved lines, speaking of curved lines, we're going to put 2 curved lines on our building, these 2 here, because that also helps it to look round. So I'm going to put one kind of close to the top. And this one down here is going to be a little bit, actually, I wonder if this one should go this way. Well, we're just going to do this. That's easier. Okay, so 2 kind of slightly curved lines to make your lighthouse look rounded. And then 2 little windows. So one little window up here, it's just a little square, and one little window here. Now, if you've ever been inside the Yaquina Head Lighthouse, there's a spiral staircase that goes around and around and around all the way to the top. And it's pretty cool. But as you go around, you can peek out those tiny windows and see the ocean. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it is pretty beautiful. And yeah, I've been to Yaquina Head, and it's like really cool.
It is, if you're there on a nice day especially. I've been there before on a windy day when it was so rainy and windy that I thought I was going to get blown off the cliff. And that was not so much fun. But if you go on a beautiful sunny day, it's terrific. So I'm going to put a chimney on the little house because the man who takes care of the lighthouse has to have a place to live, and he's going to get cold if he doesn't have a fireplace. So let's give him a little chimney. And the way we're going to do the chimney, I can't erase, but you can. We're going to make a rectangle that's not all the way on the end. It's a little ways in. So it's a little ways in from the very edge of the roof. And it doesn't sit right on top of the roof. It comes down a little bit past the roof line. So I'm not sure if you can see. I'm going to get closer for this part. It comes down just a little bit past the roof line so that it looks like it's not just sitting on the very, very pointy top of the roof. It's actually going through into the house. And then let's extend this line a little ways and come down like that. So basically you just went a line straight across and then another line going down that stops right at the top of the roof. Have you got that, Annie? Or is it Eenie? Did Megan have a question? Oh, Samantha has a question. Do you want to unmute Samantha? Lynn's apples?
Okay, Samantha, your turn.
I have more pictures from the starting to show you.
Not yet. Do your drawing. Okay.
Maybe at the end. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to connect this line that we made that stops right at the top of the roof with the corner of this rectangle. So it's just one little diagonal line connects that line to that one. And now it looks like the chimney is going over the roof. And we're going to put a little chimney pot thing on top. Okay. Let's give our house a door. You can put your door wherever you want, but I'm going to put my door right here. It's just kind of just a rectangle. And I think I'll put a little square window above the door and a little square window here. I'm going to put a little plus sign inside each window so that it looks like it has window panes. And then that's all I'm going to do to the lighthouse and the house. The lighthouse and the house are ready to be colored, but they're just floating in space. So we need to give them some solid ground to sit on. So I'm going to just have a little line come out here and go off the cliff, maybe some bumpy rocks down off the page. So it's a little bit flat at the top. There's a little grass up there at the top, and then it goes down, down, down. And you know you have to be careful at the Yaquina Head Lighthouse. There is a huge cliff you do not want to fall off of. But then over here, the grass goes on for quite a while. So I'm going to start the grass here and just have kind of a wavy grass line going down like that. And then I want this whole area here to be grass so that the lighthouse keeper has a little yard. So I'm just going to make kind of a wavy line that goes like that to show that this is all green grass and it's kind of flat right there. That's going to be our flat area. Can you see that? Is that on the camera?
The place that you can go on the cliff that you can like go down steps on like a nice place, and there's like a viewing area where you can view places.
Oh yeah.
You can like it's natural steps. And there's also open walk now.
Right, and there's tide pools down there and seals and stuff, right? It's just all kinds of things to explore.
Did you see that wild seal? There's like a baby wild seal out there now.
No, I didn't know that. Okay, so I wanted to show that this is rocky. So I just put some, I just put some kind of jaggedy lines going down or some kind of curvy lines here and there, just a few, to show that that's a rocky area. Now we're about to get to what I think is the trickiest part of this project, and that is the waves. There's lots of different ways to make water, but I thought it would be fun to make it kind of a stormy day. The waves are choppy and they're swirly. And notice that the waves are a little bit, they're different sizes, but the biggest ones are closest to the viewer, which is the person looking at the picture, and the smallest ones are the farthest away, way back on the horizon line. This is the horizon line. So that's the part that's farthest away that the viewer can see, and things get smaller and smaller the farther away you get. So we're going to make our waves in the front a little bigger and our waves in the back a little smaller, and we're just going to start by making some curves. So I'm going to put some waves down here. I'm going to start by making a curve that goes like that and swirls around. Just do that. So it goes up and down and swirls around.
It looks like a hook, like a fishing hook.
It does look like a fishing hook. And they're all going to be going the same direction because the wind is blowing that way. See, the flag is blowing that way and the waves are going that way. So all of our curves are all going to be facing that same direction. So once you do this first curve, then you just put your pen or pencil right there on the end of the curve and you come back, but you get wider as you get to the end. So I started out thin and curved, and I kind of followed the curve of my first line, but it got wider as I got farther away from the tip. So you're basically just creating a fat hook. And then I can make that wave bigger by adding on another curve. I could put my pencil on the tip again and go around it again, but just get a little wider. So that's basically how we're going to do all of our waves. That's our first wave. Let's put another big wave over here. It's going to start behind the lighthouse, and it's going to go up and down and curve around like that. So kind of a question mark or a hook sideways, but it's going the same direction as this one and kind of straight across. Then I'm going to put my pencil on the tip and go back, getting fatter as I get to the end. It's like a lock of hair. Then I'm going to make that even bigger by putting my pencil on the tip and going wider out again. Okay, we have 2 waves. That's not exactly a whole ocean. We need more waves. So we're going to make more waves, and you can make your waves wherever you want. If you want to make one kind of in the middle, you could just go ahead and make your hook And then I'm gonna make this one a little skinnier because it's farther away. Maybe a little bit smaller. I'm gonna put one there, and I think that's as big as I want to get going back. That might be a little too big. Maybe I'll put another big one here. And I think I'll put another medium-sized one over here. I'm gonna let you guys catch up for a minute. It looks like wind right now, but pretty soon we're gonna connect it all and it'll look like the ocean. I'm gonna put some real tiny ones on the horizon line. Just, in fact, some of them are just gonna be like that big. And I think I wanna go all the way across. So what you might do, I can't erase, but you know what, I have a pencil. So what I might do is take my pencil and make a straight line going all the way across my paper to show where I want my horizon line to be. And then when I draw my waves, I don't end up with waves way up here in the sky or too low, because when you look out at the ocean, it's totally flat, isn't it? So I'm gonna make a line as straight as I can across my paper, and I'm not gonna let my waves go any higher than that. So now when I draw my waves, some of my waves are just gonna be like this, but once in a while I wanna make another little curve. Okay, so now that's the horizon line is pretty straight. That was easier than trying to do it without a guide. Guide makes it a lot easier. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in all my ocean, but I don't want the whole thing to be big waves, because sometimes the ocean is just kind of just a surging, what do you call that when it's just kind of a swell, right? So I'm gonna make some
low tide. It's
what?
low tide.
Oh, well, low tide, yeah. So sometimes the waves are big and sometimes they're just kind of like this. So I'm gonna make some waves that just go like this, and they're just kind of swells, and maybe they kind of touch each other. Just some curvy lines, and maybe I'll make a few more little curly waves too. You could do as many curly waves as you want and as many swells as you want. It's up to you. So I'm going to blend the end of this curve into some of the other waves. So making some curvy waves and some swells. Better make this one just keep going off the page. Okay, so I want my water to go all the way down here, because that's when I look off the edge of the cliff, that's what I see is the ocean, and all the way over here. Maybe I should add a few more curly lines, curly waves.
Oh, Julie, and your whale.
Yes, I'm going to add my whale pretty soon, but they have pencils, so they can erase their waves. They'll be okay.
Gotcha.
I might do a few more little curvy waves up here. I want lots of waves. Lots of waves. How's everyone doing on their waves? Terrific. So the wind is blowing across the ocean. It's blowing the waves that way, and it's blowing the flag. And now we kind of have had a spring theme with all of our classes. So you might be wondering, what does this have to do with spring? But I bet some of you know that the whales migrate in the spring. I think usually March is a really big month for whale watching. Does anybody know? Anybody back me up on that? I think it is. I think, oh, you think so? Well, I think March is a good time to go to the Yaquina Lighthouse and look for whales, and I have seen whales there before. Sometimes they're way, way out there on the horizon line and you just see a little spray of water coming up. But sometimes they're closer and you can see their backs come up out of the water. You don't usually see their tails, but sometimes you do, and that's really cool. Sometimes they come up to get air and you see their back and they dive back down and they flick their tail up in the air as they're going down. So we're going to put a whale tail coming up out of the water somewhere. And I think the first picture I drew had a little more space over here. So I put my whale tail over here, but I don't feel like I have that much space now. I have more space out here. So you can put your whale tail out here if you want. I'll go ahead and put mine here because that's what I did in my first picture. But if you want to put yours out here, you can. So just choose a wave.
And think about like how close your whale is, right? And how far away your whale is. So if your whale is closer, your tail will be bigger. But if your whale is way off in the distance, your tail will be really tiny.
That's true. I suppose if you wanted to, you could put a tiny whale tail way out here and a bigger one close. So yeah, if I was going to put a whale out here, his tail would only be like that big.
Yeah.
But if I was going to put a whale here, his tail would be...
That's one of the keys when you think about perspective, when you're drawing a landscape or a seascape, is really thinking about distance. And objects that are closer to you are a lot larger. And then objects that are smaller, if you think about a forest, the trees get really teeny tiny away. And the same is true, like when Miss Julie was talking about the waves. Larger things that are closer, the waves are larger. And the waves that are way far away are smaller. And that helps when you look at a painting or a drawing to really get that depth of and distance of knowing how far away things are or how close they are.
So, thank you, Lori. Well, you know, I'm not sure I like where I put my whale tail. You can put yours wherever you'd like, but over here is a good spot too. So go ahead and just draw it for now. And how you would, let me do that again. How you would draw a whale tail is, I just like to go up and curve out. And then you kind of make a leaf. It's kind of like a leaf. Like you're doing a leaf.
It really does look like a leaf.
And then it comes back down. And you don't need to color yours in with your pencil. I just did that with mine so you could see it. But we'll color it in later.
Neely said her whale tail looked like a mustache.
Oh, yeah, maybe a mustache. So I think we need to do the sun, but first I forgot these little things of grass. So see how I put little kind of grass specks around? Sometimes when you don't want to make, if I drew grass all over that entire lawn, it would take me a long time and it would look kind of it'd be too busy. So sometimes you just hint at grass or bricks. Maybe we'll hint at bricks. You just kind of go like this, and maybe here and there put a few brick signs, and people go, oh, that building is made out of bricks. You don't have to cover the whole thing. And if I just go like this, a few little grass signs here, just little lines that kind of all point into each other, like they're all kind of coming out of from the same base. Like if there was like a dot right here, they're all kind of radiating out from it. So I just made a couple of those, and you look at that and you go, oh, that's grass. I don't have to cover the entire thing with little dashes of grass.
That's one of the wonderful things about that an artist will often do is just show a little bit, and then each one of us, when we come back and look at the piece of art, our brain fills in the rest because of all the wonderful experiences that we've had. So I love that idea of a little hint of something.
Yeah, just a few little bricks. Well, once you have finished drawing, we are going to be ready to color. And coloring might take a while. I may not stay with you for the entire, oh wait, I forgot the sun. Darn it, I knew I forgot something. Okay, the sun, the setting sun. So the setting sun, we want that to be pretty much centered on our page. And I think it's just going to be a half circle, and some of it might go behind the lighthouse. So let's start, let's see, about a quarter of the way over, because we want it to be right in the middle. So kind of like this. Maybe. Pretty much in the middle. And then we're going to have the sun's rays radiating out. So I'd say like about seven lines. So like 1, we don't need zillions of lines. 2, 3, 4, they're kind of evenly spaced. 5, 6, kind of evenly spaced lines. I think the first thing I'll show you, we're not necessarily going to do all of it, but first thing I'll show you is the water. So when I colored the water, I tried to make each little section a different color of blue. So if I color this one baby blue, I'm going to skip 1 or 2 and do the next one also that color. And I tried to color in like kind of whole spaces that were, so that whole space, it's like a puzzle kind of. And then I might take a different color blue. You could leave some of it white too if you wanted to. And color a different color blue. But I left space in between this blue and this blue. You just try not to do 2 blues the same, like these 2 right next to each other. You want to not do that because it looks more interesting if you stagger your colors. And you want to use 3 different blues. You could use kind of a green blue if you want. Let's see, I have those 2 blues. Is this a different blue? This is a little different blue. Yeah. So now I've got 3 different blues, and I'm going to stagger those all over my picture so that it just looks more interesting and more colorful, and it looks more like ripples in the ocean. So all my waves are going to be staggered in color.
Because the truth of the matter is that the ocean is so many different colors.
That's true. Yeah. Sometimes it looks green. Sometimes it looks blue. And sometimes it looks orange or pink or red.
I was just thinking, depending on how the sun is shining, the setting sun or something is shining on it. Yeah.
You can see that I painted some of the ocean that's right in front of the sun. I didn't paint it. I colored it. I colored it kind of an orangey blue. Like I did a little bit of blue and then I did orange over it and yellow because the setting sun is reflecting on the water. So I might take some orange and do this part of the ocean that's in front of the sun. Like you can kind of imagine it. Maybe draw a little circle. Maybe that was the ocean.
Oh.
I would color with oranges, but I would do the same thing that I did with the blues. I would stagger different oranges and yellows.
Yeah, go ahead, Bud. What were you going to say?
Sometimes the ocean is even white.
White?
The sun is shining on it? I suppose so.
When it's crashing down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
so if you want to leave some white caps, like you might leave some of these little ones
Good.
white.
Especially on our coast, huh? There's oftentimes that it's white because it's so stormy and turbulent.
Yeah, and then you would just kind of do the blue right up to the orange. And if you want to do a little bit of blue mixed in with the orange, just a little bit, you could do that too. So that's how you would do the water. Any questions on the water before we move on to something else? Because it's going to take you a while to do the water. We're not going to do it all right now. We'll probably say goodbye and you can finish your water at that point. No questions? Okay, let's go ahead and you've all colored suns before. I'm going to color the sun. I'm going to do it orange. maybe a little orange and yellow mixed together. And you can do, I'm doing this with chalk so it goes really fast, but you can do the same thing with colored pencil. I just don't want you to have to sit there and watch me color with colored pencil because it's gonna take a long time because this is so large. I wanted to make it big so that you can see it better. And then you might make every other ray of sun, like make one orange and one yellow or one red or pink, whatever you want to do. But orange and blue are complementary colors. They're on opposite spectrums of the color wheel, so they always look really nice together. So I think if your sun is kind of an orangish yellow, it'll complement the blue in the ocean. So it might look nicer than a pink sun. Just, it's up to you, of course, but that's just my suggestion. Oops, I forgot that little bit of sun right there. And I'm just kind of coloring mine in kind of quickly right now, but, and then I might do these, whoops, my chalk just broke. I might do those yellow. All right, that's the quick version. When you're doing art, it's rare that you paint something white. Usually there's some kind of a reflection, blue for shadow or yellow for the sun. And because the sunset is shining behind the lighthouse, this side of the lighthouse that we see is going to be in shade. So I'm not going to leave it white. I'm going to give it a little color. And what I did was I took kind of a blue and I didn't do the whole thing. I just kind of did the middle part. I went back and forth in a curving motion. I imagined the curve of the lighthouse and I went back and forth in a curving motion. And when I got down here, it started to change to curve the other direction to show that that was curving. And I did the same thing up here and it got smaller at the roof. And then I did a little bit of that on the house too. Not a ton, just a little bit. Then I took a black colored pencil and I lightly kind of mixed it in with the blue. Not super dark, but I did the same thing. I kind of curved. You could even just do some lines, but they have to be curving. Kind of curved. And then when you get down here, you kind of curve the other way because the bottom of the lighthouse curves the other direction. And then I put a little bit of shadow on this, a little bit there. And I shaded the roof in. And I had my, went back and forth straight across on the roof to give the idea that the roof tiles are all going the same way. So that kind of creates a shadow. And then I thought maybe a little bit of the setting sun would be shining on the edge of the white lighthouse and make it a little bit, maybe a little bit yellow or orange. So I put a little bit, not a ton, just a little bit of yellow pencil there and here and up here and on this roof, like it's shining on that side of the, and maybe even a little bit of, maybe a little orange. And that also curves kind of. So, and then I colored this part. This is where the light comes out of the lighthouse, so I'll make that yellow. So that creates the feeling of shadow. Even though you know that that's white, we don't want to leave it white because artists see shadow and color that maybe other people don't always notice. And it's kind of nice. Let's color in our windows blue because that shows that it's kind of shady.
It's darker inside.
Darker inside. And oh, we should probably shadow. Let's just shade this front part of the rectangle part of the chimney a little bit with a little light gray. And I want to do shadow on the grass before we go. So you might color your grass kind of a light green. I'm gonna do this real quick. Kind of a light green And you might do your cliff kind of a gray. That's what I did. But I wanted to show that there was a shadow being cast, a cast shadow. Because the sun is shining on my lighthouse, there's going to be shadow down here. So I took a darker green and I curved it the same way that the bottom of the lighthouse is curving. And I curved it and it kind of got a little bit narrower as I got farther away from the lighthouse, and then it ends at the edge of the grass. And then there's a little bit of a shadow here in front of the house too.